Well, some new information now on the terror attack in San Bernardino. FBI Director James Comey revealing that there's no evidence that the killers were part of a real terror cell and that the husband and wife used direct messaging on social media but did not post publicly prior to the event. He went on to say that ISIS is revolutionizing terrorism through the use of technology. This all coming out just over the last 24 hours. Let's bring in Thomas Joscelyn, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and Senior Editor of the Long War Journal. So Comey also said this, Tom, that your parents' al-Qaeda was a very different model than the threat we face today. Is it?
No. It's really amazing. The attention span here of some of these officials is really not very long because al-Qaeda actually invented this whole individual jihadist model. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that all these shows were abuzz with talk of Inspire magazine, which is al-Qaeda's magazine, which is trying to encourage individual jihadists to go out and launch an attack on their own. ISIS basically just copied that whole format, rebranded it Dabiq, and rolled it right off the same line. So it's basically the same thing, an English language magazine and other languages encouraging individual jihadist attacks.
We heard the same thing from the president just moments ago, though, saying, we're looking at these small-scale attacks as individuals. This is very different, and it's very scary. To that, you say what?
This has been in the pipeline for a while. This was part of a deliberate strategy by the jihadists to increase the number of threats to us. Because remember, if they're increasing these individual jihadist threats to us, then that creates also a lot of noise, keeps us tied up, means our resources are not really focused on the individual threats that may be the greatest to our security. That's how a couple like in San Bernardino gets through the whole system. But you look at the whole thing. This was something al-Qaeda started years ago. We've had these types of attacks and plots for years now. This isn't new. ISIS has taken it to another level because they claim to be the caliphate in the here and now. That creates a new sort of imperative or a new sort of initiative for individual jihadists to go out and commit terrorist attacks on behalf.
And that's one of the reasons why you're really paying attention to the language that the FBI is using on social media. And quite frankly, it's been a little bit all over the place over the last several days. But one of the things you're watching for is what did they post on social media after the attack. We haven't really heard about that. We just heard from Comey that prior to the attack, they were using direct messaging on social media, and that's not really using social media because that's not public. Walk us through, why are you watching what they posted potentially after the attack, and what do you make of direct messaging versus posting publicly? What do you think?
Well, the reason why they're drawing that distinction between public messages and private messages is because you can control with algorithms and other means sort of what these guys are saying online, and certainly federal authorities do that. You can't do that with private messaging. Private messaging, you need actual sort of, you need a warrant, you need some way of doing this through the legal system. But why it's very important to know what they actually said during the actual attack is because ISIS tries to encourage people to basically pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as the terrorist attack is ongoing or before they do it. This goes into the whole idea that you're in sort of a state of disobedience if you die and you don't pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. So these reports that came out saying that the wife or the couple on social media during the attack pledged allegiance to Baghdadi, that's very consistent with what ISIS says to do in Dabiq, which is their English language magazine, and other propaganda.
And of course, we're wondering still, where did they get the instruction to build the pipe bombs, and how exactly did they follow that instruction, and did they get that through social media, through these magazines, as often is pointed to? What do you make of just the confusion about the officially part of a terror cell or not? FBI says they don't think so, but there seems to be some confusion about what this couple was doing over the last several years.
It's important on one level, and on another level it's not important. And here it's not important. It's part of the broader jihadist threat. And that's what you didn't hear from the president today. That's what you don't hear from these officials, is we're part of a global war against jihadists that are fighting all the way from West Africa, through North Africa, through the heart of the Middle East, all the way into South Asia. You don't hear that connectivity, that we're part of a global struggle, a global war. Why it is important is because, generally speaking, the professional terrorists sort of are able to up their game and up the ante in these types of attacks. And basically, you can look at what this couple did in San Bernardino was horrific, and they killed a lot of people, and they were very effective, assuming even they didn't get any professional training. But there is a difference between that and what happened in Paris, where they basically locked down a whole nation with professional terrorists, a team of professional terrorists. So what we're dealing with right now are both threat streams, and they're both a threat to our security. One, still the professionals are still a greater threat to us overall in terms of mass casualty attacks, but both are threats.
Just quickly before I let you go, I know you pay close attention to the chatter online from the jihadists, and I'm just wondering, over the last several weeks, what have you noticed in your research?
I think ISIS tried to throw in with this through their official publications and through their official messaging. I don't think they knew this was coming. I don't see any evidence that they actually knew this pair, this couple. I don't think they directed them at all or given them any advice. But, that doesn't lessen what they did, doesn't lessen what the couple did, because assuming those reports are accurate, that they swore allegiance to Baghdadi online, that's exactly what ISIS has been calling for.
Very interesting, Tom. Always great to have you on the program. Thank you.